All right, welcome to week 7. We are going to start looking at functions this week, and we're actually going to spend 2 weeks on this topic, mainly because this is a pretty important topic in regards to your coding, your midterm that you're going to do, and potentially your performance task if you're taking the AP exam. I would say functions is probably one of the harder concepts for students to get. But like I said, it's very important, so we're going to spend 2 weeks on it to really give you guys some time to soak it in and hopefully understand this. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at 2 different versions of some song lyrics, and we're going to talk about style 1 versus style 2. So let me pull those up for you. So here we go. So we have style 1, which is over here on the left. And what you can see is every line of code is, not line of code, every line of lyrics is written out with line numbers on the left. And you'll notice this chorus, which starts with "So wake me up when it's over," we have it just written out on the left. All right, so every single time I want to sing the chorus, I've written the lyrics out line by line. And you can see that I'm going to sing these lyrics 4 times. Right, actually 5 times, because I'm going to do it again at the end. So that's version 1, where I've written the lyrics out, including the chorus line by line. Style 2, I've written it a little bit different. So on this one, I've written out the lyrics, but anytime I want to sing the chorus, I've just added this one line that says sing chorus. All right, so I've got sing chorus, sing chorus. All right, I've got it 2 more times here, and then down at the bottom, I've got sing chorus. And then on line 35, I've actually written the chorus lyrics 1 time, right? So just kind of keep that in your mind, right? We have style 1 where everything is written out, including the chorus, line after line. So this would kind of be sequential. I'm just going to read from the top to the bottom. This style 2, this is kind of like our event-driven code where I've got this, event that I'm waiting for. And when this happens, I'm going to jump down and sing those lyrics. So kind of looking at those prompts that we had initially. In style 1, what line of the song do you sing line after line? What about style 2? So again, it's kind of getting at this idea that like, hey, on this one, I'm going to sing just the next line. But on line 9, I'm actually jumping around a little bit because I'm just going to call this, event sing chorus, and then I've got the lyrics down here that I can go to. The other question, is which is using fewer lines of code. All right. So kind of looking at this, we can see when I've organized it where I have my chorus in one spot and I'm just telling the reader, hey, at this point, go read that chorus. Do it again. I'm using less lines of code, right? This one on the right is using 39 lines. This one on the left is using 47. And then, kind of what are the benefits of writing the song in style 2? What they want you to kind of walk away from this knowing is this idea that like, this style 2, it's a little more efficient, right? I'm using less lines of code. If I wanted to change the chorus, if I was on style 1, maybe I didn't want this word "so" at the start of my chorus. I would have to go to line 10 and delete it, 15 delete it, 29 delete it, 34 delete it, and then 44 and delete it. This one over here on the right, if I want to change my chorus, all I have to do is delete that 1 time. Right. As soon as I do that, when someone's reading this and they say, hey, get to line 10, here's my event, sing chorus, my change is going to be reflected down here and they're going to sing it correctly. So they will automatically sing it correctly here, 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 and here, and then lastly here. So we're using this as an example of what a function is. Right? So a function is basically a way for us in our code to group a set of instructions and give it a name. We can then call on that function whenever we want to run that code. So again, just like with the song lyrics, this makes it a little more efficient for us. We can use less lines of code, and if we ever need to make a change to those instructions inside the function, we just have to go to the one place where we created our function, make that change, and then anywhere that the function's called in our code, those changes will already be reflected. A good kind of real world example of this is if you play sports, right? We're just going to use football as an example. Your coach will, give you a play for the offense to run, right? During practice, they're going to teach you what to do when that play is run. So they're going to tell, different people to move to different spots and do different things, and they're going to give that play a name. So then during the game, the coach does not have to pull you aside and explain to you every single time he wants to do this play how the play works. He just tells you the name of the play, you know the instructions, and you can go and do it. If the play works well, he can leave it the way it is. Maybe the play doesn't work well, so next week in practice, he's actually going to make a little change to that play. So maybe the receiver's going to work to the right instead of the left. Once he implements that change and the instructions have changed, he doesn't need to name the change of the function. He doesn't need to change the name of those set of instructions or that play. He's taught it to you, so during the game he can just say run this play, and now that receiver is going to go to the right, not the left, right? And he can call this play over and over and over again. The same thing is going to happen every time. That's essentially the way these functions work in our code. There are two things that you need to know about functions. So anytime you're going to do a function, you have to first define the function. That just means that we're going to create it, right? So over here, I've created a function. So these are my instructions inside the green, and then the name of my function is right here. So this is the update button function. So that's how I define my function. The second thing I need to do anytime I have a function is I have to call it, right? Which just means I'm going to use it. So here's an example of how I call a function or how I use it. I just use that function's name with this open and close parentheses. So this line of code would basically say, hey, go find where I define this function and run the instructions. So once this line of code is run, it's going to find this code and then run these 3 lines in yellow, right? Beyond that, functions, as far as naming them, are exactly like the IDs for our elements. So the function name has to be descriptive, and the function name has to use camel case, right? So a little example, so you guys can see this. Let's go to, let me pull up this screen. So we have a blank app here. I can see in my toolbox that I've got my green tab now for my functions. So like I said, whenever we are using functions, we have to do 2 things. The first thing that we have to do is define our function, right? So this is the block of code to define my function, and I'm going to call this add numbers. Right, so now that I've defined my function, I need to do something with it. All right, I need to give it some instructions. So in this case, I'm just going to console log out, 5 plus 10. All right, so I've defined my function, but you'll see I'm getting a warning. That's because I've defined it, but I have not called it. So anytime you're using functions, you have to first define it and then call it. So I'm going to add a little comment here. So you can see this is where I'm going to call function. And then I'm going to use this block to call it. All right, so I just put my function name in there. Now my warnings go away. So when I run this code, all right, I should see it's going to skip these lines because this is event-driven code. This function has not been called when it gets to line 2. It's going to hit line 6. Here I am calling my function, so it's going to move up to 2, and then console log out 5 plus 15. Or sorry, 5 plus 10, which is 15. So that's kind of how we use it, right? We have to define them and we have to call them. So we're going to practice this a lot this week on these different levels. One of the patterns that they're going to teach you is this update screen pattern. So we're going to look at this in code.org. But it's this idea, like this is one of the patterns that you can use. I strongly suggest you use this on your midterm. I strongly suggest you use it on your performance task. It's a very easy way for us to update our screen based on certain events that happen. So we call it the update screen pattern. The idea is once our code runs, we're going to call this function update screen, which I've called here and I've defined down here. So anytime I call update screen, it's going to set the text for this element to whatever count is. And then it's going to check to see if count's greater than 20, and if it is, it's going to change the text color to green. So I've created a variable up here with count that starts at 0. So I'm going to show this to you two ways, right? So you can kind of see how this works. This first example, I have this code. It's the same code, but I'm not using functions, right? And don't get confused on this. Just because you see function right here, this function is that callback for the on event. This technically is not a function you wrote. So don't think of this as a function that you can use, right? We're talking about functions that you create. You're going to define them and you're going to call them. This is not a function that you've defined. So basically, you're going to notice that a lot of this code repeats, right? I'm setting text and I'm checking if count's greater than 20, and then I'm setting property. So when this up button is clicked, I'm updating my count. This is an up button, so I'm going to add 1 to count. And then I'm setting text, checking if this is true, and setting the property. If the down button's clicked, I'm updating my count, setting my text, checking if this is true, and setting the property. So this works, right? Every time I click up, it's adding 1 to my count. Every time I click down, it's subtracting 1 from my count. But whenever you see code repeating, like lines 2 through 5, 9 through 12, 17 through 20, that is a really good indicator that, hey, this could probably be in a function, right? This is a set of instructions that I'm doing multiple times. I could put this in a function, so I only have to write it once, and then I can just call it when I need it, which is that code that we were just looking at, right? So now I have my variable count equal to 0, and then I'm immediately calling my update screen function, which is down here. This is where I'm going to set my text, check if this is true, and then set the property. And then inside of each of my on events, anytime the up button's clicked, I'm going to add 1 to count, and then I can just call update screen, right? I don't need all of this code here or here or here anymore. I've organized it and put it into a single function that I can just call. So if I run this, again, it works, right? But this is cleaner. This is more efficient. And the nice thing is, maybe I don't want to wait till 20, right? Maybe once I get over 5, I want the text to change green. So if I did not have my function, I would have to change it to 5 here, 5 here, and 5 here. And maybe I don't want it to go green. Maybe I want it to go blue. So I'd have to change it here, and here, and here. In this case, where I have my function, I can change it 1 time here and make 1 change here. All right, and then when I run this, it just works for me. All right, once I hit 5, all right, it went. So that's kind of the benefit of functions for us, right? And this is that update screen pattern, that we're going to have a function called update screen. We're going to call it when our app first loads, and then we're going to call it anytime we need to make an update to our app. We're also going to get into scope during this week. So I'll kind of go through these quickly. Basically, when you're creating a variable, you only want to use var once, right? Don't use var twice, because that will create a new variable. So instead of, right, in here, I don't want to say var count equals 0, and then here var count equals 0, because that creates a new count variable. I would have 2 counts at that point. It doesn't make sense. It's not going to work. So when you're creating your variables, only use var once for each variable. Make sure you create your variables at the top of your program, and then create your variables outside of any function or on event. All right. So there's a couple images here. You can kind of pause the video and read through this, but these are just examples of like what's a global or what's a local variable. Right now, our goal is to stick with global variables. We're trying to avoid local variables. So this is how your code should look. The var is used once, it's outside my on event, and then anytime I want to use it or update it, I'm just using the variable name. I'm not using that keyword var again. And then here's, one more example. This var count, and then inside my on event is a var count. This creates 2 variables called count. This one is global. This one is local. So again, this is a hard concept for students to get. So as you're going through these lessons this week, make sure you're watching these code.org videos, right? This one's going to walk you through functions. This one's going to help you with defining and calling functions. And this one specifically is going to show you those scope issues that I was talking about between a local and a global variable, and when to create your variables, how not to create them inside of on events or functions. All right, and that is pretty much the lecture for this week. So you're going to work through 2 lessons. You're going to make sure you do your check-in, and then make sure that you're watching these code.org videos as well. These ones are only a minute or 2 long, but this one specifically I think is really important. So as always, if you have any questions, come by room 624. Otherwise, good luck.